Dear students, we were discussing about the second chapter, that is motion. So in the previous class we studied what is motion, what is reference body, and how to state whether an object is in the state of rest or state of motion. Then we learnt what is distance and what is displacement. Then what are scalar quantities and what are vector quantities. So quantities having only magnitude are known as scalar quantities, and quantities having both magnitude and direction are known as vector quantities. And we saw some examples for these scalar quantities and vector quantities. Distance is a scalar quantity while displacement is a vector quantity. So we learned many things. So now let us see what are the differences between distance and displacement. So we know that distance is a scalar quantity and displacement is a vector quantity. Then what is distance? Distance is the length of the path travelled is known as distance, while what is displacement? The straight line distance from initial position to the final position is known as displacement. So the length of the path travelled is known as distance, and the straight line distance from initial position to the final position is known as displacement. Then distance will not become zero. We have seen in the case of displacement becomes zero, but the distance will not become zero. Displacement can be zero, it can be positive or it can be negative, but this distance is always positive and it will not become zero. So these are the differences between distance and displacement. So see here, what is this signboard? Is it? Have you seen this signboard near roadside? See here you can see 20 kilometer per hour. That means the speed limit here is 20 kilometer per hour. The vehicles should move in a speed of 20 kilometer per hour. Here the speed limit is how much? 10 kilometer per hour. So what is this speed? Do you know what is speed? Yes, let us see. Speed and velocity. So this word speed is familiar to you, but this term velocity is new term, is it? So in today's class we are going to see what is speed and what is velocity. Coming back to our same example, a child is standing at the point A and he want to reach the point C. He took the path through B. The distance from A to B is 4 meter and distance from B to C is 3 meter. So he went along through the path A, B, C and he reached his destination. From A to C, he took 7 seconds to reach his destination. So we have to find how much distance he covered in 1 second. How can we find this? See here. The distance traveled here in this case is how much? 4 meter plus 3 meter. How much? 7 meters. Is it? So the boy traveled along the path B, then he reached C. So the distance traveled in this case is how much? 7 meter. And in order to reach this point, he took 7 seconds. So the time taken is 7 seconds. So he traveled 7 meter in 7 seconds. Then how much distance he traveled in 1 second. How can we find this? Divide this distance by time so that we will get 7 meter divided by 7 second gives how much? 1 meter per second. So what is this 1 meter per second says? The boy covered 1 meter in 1 second. So this is known as speed. Then what is speed? The distance covered in 1 second is known as the speed of the boy. Then what is the unit of the speed? Meter per second. We know that unit of distance is meter and unit of time is second. So the unit of speed is meter per second. Okay. So what is speed? Distance divided by time is speed. Now what is his displacement? 5 meter, is it? So this is the initial point, C is the final point, and the straight line distance from initial to the final point is the displacement. So in this case, the displacement of the boy is how much meter? 5 meter. And the time taken here to reach his destination is how much? 7 seconds. So actually the boy went along this path. But to measure how much displacement he covered in 1 second, we use the same time. Okay. So here also we have to use the same time. The time taken by the boy is 7 seconds. Then displacement divided by time, that is how much displacement in 1 second. In order to find that, what we have to do? Divide the displacement by time. So dividing displacement by time, we will get 5 meter divided by 7 seconds. So 5 by 7 gives how much? 0.7. The displacement of the boy in 1 second is how much? 0.7 meter per second. So this displacement per unit time is known as velocity. Speed means distance divided by time is known as speed, while velocity is the displacement per unit time is known as velocity. How much displacement he covered in 1 second is known as velocity. So in speed, how much distance he covered in 1 second is known as speed, while displacement in 1 second is known as velocity. Is it clear? In your textbook, one question is given in page number 79. And in page number 80, you can see one box. Using this picture, you have to complete this table. So while completing in your textbook, you have to use pencil. Do not use pen, okay? You have to use pencil. See, stages of journey, total distance traveled in meter, displacement in meter, time taken for the journey in second, distance traveled per second, displacement per second. So based on this diagram, you have to fill this table. On reaching the office, we know that this is the house of a person and this is his office. He went along through this office through this path, and in order to reach his office, he took 600 seconds, and from office, in order to reach his home, he took again 600 seconds. Okay. And the distance from his home to office is how much meter? 600 plus 300. How much? 900 meter. And The distance from office to his home is 660 plus 420 meters, that is 1080 meter. So in the first box you have to write, on reaching the office the total distance traveled in meter. So on reaching the office he traveled a distance of 900 meter. So write here 900 meter. Then displacement in meter. So in order to, so this is the final initial point and this is the final point. And what about displacement in this case? 480 meter towards east, is it? So you have to write here the displacement in meter is 480 meter towards east. Time taken for the journey in seconds. So from in order to reach from here to here he took 600 seconds. So you have to write here 600 seconds. Distance traveled per second. So in order to travel 900 meters he took 600 seconds. Then in 1 second how much distance he covered, that is distance traveled per second. So how can we find this? See, in order to reach 900 meters he took 600 seconds. Then in 1 second how much meter he traveled? So cross multiply these two and divide it by 600, so that we will get 3 by 2, that is 1.5 meter per second. He traveled 1.5 meters in 1 second. Okay, he traveled 1.5 meters in 1 second, and in 600 seconds he traveled a distance of 900 meter. And again we have to find displacement per second. So displacement is given 480 meter divided by, we have to use the same time, that is 480 divided by 600 gives how much? 0.8 meter per second. On reaching back home, so from office he again went to his home and he took this path, and the distance of this path is 660 plus 420, that is 1080 meter, and displacement in this case is 480 meters towards west. Time taken is same, 600 seconds. See, this time is given in the question itself. Okay, so read that question which is in the page number 79. And distance traveled per second, we have to find the distance traveled per second, that is 1080 divided by 600 gives 1.8 meter per second. He traveled 1.8 meters in 1 second, and in 600 seconds he traveled a distance of 1080 meter. And again we have to find the displacement per second. So the displacement is same, 480 meter divided by 600 gives 0.8 meter per second. So here you can see the distance traveled per second here is 1.5 and here it is 1.8. Then what is distance traveled per distance traveled per second is known as speed, is it? So the speed of the person on reaching the office is 1.5 meter per second, and the speed of the person while reaching back to his home is 1.8 meter per second, and the velocity of the person in the both cases is 0.8 meter per second. Then what is speed? Speed is the distance traveled in unit time is known as speed, and velocity is the displacement in unit time. Unit time means 1 second. Okay, so that speed means the distance traveled in 1 second is known as speed, and the velocity is the displacement in 1 second. So what is the unit of speed? Meter per second, and the unit of velocity is meter per second. The unit of both speed and velocity are same.